So Backyard Professor Responds videos back at you. Guess who I've got back with me? Actually, I was invited to his place, and we have some fun discussing to share with you. Nate, we did live not quite 2 weeks ago, huh?
Yeah, about a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah, and I've kind of introduced Dan Burisch with a video or two and talked a little bit about Stargate, not a lot. We haven't talked about Project Lotus at all much, and we haven't talked about the what's the gizmo? The
yellow cube, yellow book.
No, the gizmo, the looking glass.
Looking glass.
We talked a little bit about that, but Nate here brought up the yellow book to me, and this is crazy because you look up yellow book, which I'm going to encourage you to do without question, and you kind of get several ideas. And we've got a website that we're actually going to share some of the ideas of yellow book and what it is from different theories. Then Nate found a wonderful video clip that we're going to share with you from Dan Burisch himself on his description of the yellow book. And then we are going to get Nate's interpretation of what the yellow book very well could be and the reason why he postulates what he proposes, which I find to be the most intriguing. And our idea is the KISS principle here, isn't it?
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple,
Absolutely.
stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I love about his proposal is it follows the KISS principle in a really surprising way. So first off, we're going to, should we show them some of the, you want to save Dan's till last? Let's look at some of the various theories because none of them really touch on what Dan says, even though we want to share what Dan says, these various different ideas. They're kind of fun. They kind of get your mental juices flowing.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. like Bugs Bunny did to Elmer Fudd.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, we're supposed to. Sorry, we're too good of friends. We should act professional. I apologize.
We were in a martial arts class together where we had to constantly be in hands
Beating
range.
each other. That's why I look so funny and my nose is red and he looks fine. So I never could hit him. He was too fast.
My nose is crooked. It's
yeah. I broke his nose. He just made mine red. No, I didn't break your nose.
You didn't break my nose.
I couldn't even get to you.
Probably not.
He kept kicking me in the shin and drove me nuts. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're not going to. This is an idea on. Shall I show this? Let's just show this.
Show it.
Because it'll put us to the side here. Hold on. We'll show you this. It's just a 1 sentence or 2 sentence description. What about a dozen of them?
Yeah.
A dozen of the different ideas.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and show it. That'll work. They can see that, right? So I love the title, Creepy Theories About the Yellow Book and the Evans. What are the Evans? What does it mean by Evans?
Extraterrestrial biological entity.
Who came up with that acronym?
The extraterrestrial biological entity probably came from the scientists that first saw the first J-rod. Just like they called it J-rod because the J was a classification in either a book or a manual or a pamphlet or something that they were handing out to certain people. So they classified it as J. Now, I don't know the rest, J-rod. I don't know why, but
he said he got it from Egyptian hieroglyphics at one point, if I remember right. It had to do with the Egyptian hieroglyphics because that was
possible.
That was for the 52s and the 45s, and we'll explain that here in a little bit.
But the Ebens, the name Ebens, though,
extraterrestrial biological entity.
But the word Ebens was coined later by Richard Doty.
Our hero, Richard Doty.
So you got to remember,
I'm kidding.
he actually kind of fumbles over his words a lot. So So when he uses the term Eben, when he first started to do that, it was a mistake. He was just saying Eben because he couldn't say Eb for some reason. I don't know what it was. He's just an older cat, maybe. I don't know. But he definitely said Eb at first, and that's what it needed to stay. They called him Ebes. They didn't call him Ebens. So I don't know where this Ebens is coming from to this day other than him.
Okay.
Setting the record straight.
That's where it's from. We're setting the record straight. So, and they ask, are aliens real? Many people seem to think so. We do. Statistically speaking, another intelligent race must exist among the stars. Not an option, but who are they? What if they've contacted us already? If you ask the internet, the answer is, well, sure, they've contacted us, of course. And they have given us the key to unlocking the universe. Okay, now that is enough to whet anyone's appetite. So we know a little bit about the aliens, and maybe you've heard of the Yellow Book and the Evans. You guys have now, but if you don't know how deep the wormhole goes, you've probably run into snippets of the Yellow Book conspiracies. But in case you haven't, this list is going to catch us up. So according to these stories, this is important. The Ebens are aliens from the Zeta Reticuli star system, which we can't see if you're north of Mexico City. It's in the southern hemisphere. Zeta Reticuli. It's by the, can't remember which Magellanic cloud, either the small or the large. There's only two of them, but it's by one of the Magellanic clouds.
It's a binary star system.
It is a binary star system.
And the Zeta Reticuli one that they're talking about is ZR3, which is Zeta Reticuli 3, which is the third planet from those stars.
Yep. The Ebens have here's the first one. The Ebens have a long relationship with the Earth. And I have to get closer because I've got to read this. Some theorists believe the Ebens have had a long relationship with our planet, not to mention the people on it. They've been keeping tabs on us, and they've been keeping tabs on us to such an extent that the Yellow Book contains a detailed history of Earth.
False.
He doesn't like that theory. Okay, let's go to the next one. 2, we've sent people away with the Ebens. Theorists believe we've sent people to live with the aliens, and I covered that in my video a little bit, which is only fair. Oh, no, I don't. I don't think I did. Given how much they helped us out, after a meeting was set, our government picked the best of the best from its ranks.
You did cover this.
And,
you did.
Oh, okay. And their existence in all public records. Yeah, and I watched, since this time, I went ahead and watched the, Close Encounters of the Third Kind the other night, and that was kind of fun. Yeah, so that's an idea. And then after each little comment, it asks, "Is this creepy?" Yeah, you got to bring drama into it. Whatever. Creepy just doesn't do it for me. Every time you read the Yellow Book, you have to start at the beginning. This is kind of weird. There's a problem with either the Yellow Book or our puny human minds, because it is said that once you stop reading it, you can't pick up where you left off. That means that if you pick it up again, you have to start over.
Because it's not a book at all.
Because it's not a book at all, according to us.
Dan.
Yeah. So here's another one. President Eisenhower met with the aliens in the 1950s. The theory goes that Eisenhower faked items on his schedule so that he could conduct secret meeting with the Evans. And apparently Eisenhower had at least 3 such meetings with these aliens and helped set up good relations between us and them. So, and again, this kind of bumps into the idea of the government secretly working with the aliens.
Right.
Something that they vehemently deny.
So this is for the Holloman landing, which supposedly gave us the Yellow Book.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Is this creepy? No, it's informative.
Or disinformative.
Or disinformative. You clever boy, you. Aliens stopped by in 1964 to give us an Encyclopedia Galactica. Well, that was awful nice of them. This story says that after making contact with us, the Evans dropped by Holloman Air Force Base in April 1964. They gave us the Yellow Book, and this is essentially the Evans version of the history of the universe. A female Evan, nicknamed EBE number 2. She presented the book or / device to the U.S. government and translated the text for easy reading. So there's an idea on the Yellow Book.
I don't doubt that the Holloman thing happened, though.
Yeah, the Holloman thing is pretty solid.
I think that Eisenhower probably did meet with some ETs.
I think so. Jesus Christ was an Eben to make first contact with the people of Earth, and Eben appeared in human form. That human happened to be a guy named Jesus Christ, superstar and apparently alien. Jesus appointed the first alien ambassador to Earth, but we don't know who it was. Perhaps St. Paul?
Now, that's interesting. So my take on Jesus is that he's a time traveler. Moving on.
Time traveler. I guess that wouldn't be alien, though, would it? Because
no, he's not an alien.
Interesting. Time traveler. How fun.
We can jump into that later.
Yeah. There is not to be outdone by the aliens, there is a red book, and it's written by us humans. I didn't get to contribute to this, but not many people have read the Yellow Book, but those who have made detailed reports on it for presidents of the United States. You can see Kennedy here looking dapper. Those reports are gathered in what is called the Red Book, not to be confused with the woman's magazine of the same name. Reports filed in the Red Book began in 1947, and they were created as recently as 2005. Interesting.
Right there, wait a second. It says, wonder if that's the first thing they give presidents when they enter the office.
Oh, yeah.
I'd give them a Rubik's Cube, too. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Give them something to think about.
To play with.
To play with, yeah. Hint, hint. So the Yellow Book contains information about Earth's distant past. This is the 8th idea. So the Yellow Book isn't exactly a book. It's kind of an advanced e-reader. It's about 2.5 inches thick. It has a transparent surface. If you look at the surface, words and pictures appear from all of universal history, going back to at least 2000 BC.
Dan never said that.
Huh?
Dan never said any of this.
Dan never said that, did he?
Never said it.
Well,
all this stuff.
And besides that, the aliens kind of dropped the ball on early Mesopotamian history, man. What gives, Evans? 9th thing, the Evans don't see time as linear.
Neither do I. I don't think you can travel linearly through
Are you
time.
an alien then?
I'm just saying.
Aliens don't see it that way.
I don't see it.
Rather than using a progression of forward measured time, they see history through an event clock, and this includes future events. So they probably saw us sitting down here to talk about them on YouTube.
It's an interesting way of...
Now that is creepy, right?
Or maybe it's our kids that time travel and then they see us doing it.
Number 10, Evans crashed in New Mexico in July 1947. Nate, here we go. According to one conspiracy theory, our first contact with the Evans, who weren't Jesus Christ in this timeline, happened when one of their ships crashed near Corona, New Mexico. Now, that was the one that was before the Roswell, wasn't it? That was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah, so...
1947?
Yeah. Yeah, so 1947 was on the Brazil Ranch.
So was that near Corona? Because there were two such crashes.
I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
There was like 5 crashes total. So when these people
I've only heard about 2.
When people are talking about Roswell and stuff, it gets me because people around the world, they don't know geography. They don't know what we're talking about over here in America. They don't know what we're saying when we say Roswell and stuff, they have to go look it up. So for those people, they need to know that there was more than one crash. They need to know that Roswell has very little to do with it because it happened around Roswell. It didn't happen at Roswell. Roswell was where the airfield was, where they were taken. And that's how they had to get them out of here. So Roswell is a focal point, but it's not, oh, Roswell is where the aliens crashed. No, it isn't. They crashed 5 different crashes. I know what Dan says. I know where he says that there was crashes. And I know that there's been historians that talk about those crashes. And there was multiple EBs, not Ebens, that crashed. And I've heard different stories about those crashes and why they happened and how some of them one was shot down, how one was hit with radar. I've heard lasers. I've heard Tesla's technologies. Yeah. I've heard a lot of different reasons. Fact is, at the end of the day, they're fallible. They're creatures like us. And we've said this in previous podcasts that it shouldn't be a surprise that another creature like us can crash. However, you would think, well, they're smarter. I've even heard that these are the teenage Ebens, and they're taking off in their craft, and they're new to being able to use them. Maybe they're actually not taking off from another planet, but they're taking off from here, and then they're crash landing. So maybe they're having a hard time dealing with taking off from Earth, whereas normally they didn't have problems before taking off. I mean, there's a lot of different ways of looking at that, but the fact of the matter is that we've had multiple crashes. That's known. What else is known is some of them have been retrieved, some of them haven't. Some of them are probably dropped off in the water. We'll never see them. So just, again, getting the confrontation and setting the thing straight the best I can. I don't know all the history of every single detail. But at the end of the day, the thing that needs to be taken away, they're fallible. They can wreck. We've had multiples. We've possibly gotten biological entities off, which, according to David Grush, we have.
Yeah.
And he's even now come out and said that this is what they look like. They look like the pterodactyls in Peru. And that he even told Burleson he needs to go take a look at them.
Yeah, him and Burleson have been talking, haven't they? Burleson brought him in under his wing, and they've been talking. There's even speculation now that he's briefed Trump. Well, so we'll see.
We'll see on that.
This is interesting that the Eben, nicknamed EBE1, spent years teaching us how to use his communication device so he could contact his home planet. So that through a series of messages, we established formal relations and set up the meeting in 1964. And that was how he was reunited with his kind.
So that could not be the EBE that Dan was looking at.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Good point. The 11th one, not almost to the last, some think that the Yellow Book was meant to mislead us. No. Nothing in this field has been misleading us at all, whether it's from the government or from the ETs or from the YouTube podcasters.
This is the closest one so far, but I still think they're wrong.
Right. Well, it shouldn't surprise us, though. That you got to have a conspiracy theory here, you know. So the Yellow Book was meant to throw humanity off course. It's made quite a few predictions that have yet to happen. So now that doesn't necessarily mean it's a false prediction. It just hasn't had enough time. The question is, what are those predictions? We don't know. We don't have the Yellow Book to read. So, you know,
this one right here. But that one right there should scare you a little bit because that one right there has come the closest to at least a normal way of looking at it. Like, would EBE be handing us this cube? Would they be handing us information? You have to really take that in.
We'll talk about that. Okay. We'll talk about that in detail. That ties in with his idea that he'll share with us in detail. So the 12th one, we've been communicating with the Evans for decades. Thanks to the technological assistance, we've supposedly been sending messages back and forth with Evans for decades. So they have sent us the location of their home system. And in return, we sent them pictures of Earth. How we were able to send pictures isn't clear, but we're guessing it has to do with the awesome alien technology. either that or a DM on Instagram. The Evans seemed to like the pictures because after they set up some meeting times. And this is what the shows a picture of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind talking about right there.
I would just point out on this one that there was a time, again, I'm going to talk about our friend Lou Elizondo, who said that they're having some kind of relationship, because he then kind of threw the nugget out there. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave all of us? He said these words where he said, they're possibly having a relationship, and then where does that leave all of us? And what do we have to believe about that? Like, so we're not good enough to talk to them, but some people are good enough to talk to them. Is that another thing that we need to be upset about?
Let's get upset.
Let's get upset about it.
We're going to pick it.
If that's actually the case, of course.
Yeah, that's true. Finally, Close Encounters of the Third Kind was inspired by the Evans. According to some theorists, Steven Spielberg's famous 1977 film, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, was inspired by the Holloman landing, down to details such as how many humans board the spacecraft at the end of the film. The Holloman landing had been in the public eye for a while at the time of the film's release. So Close Encounters was a passion project of Spielberg's since the early 70s, so the timing lines up. You never know.
Let's go ahead and talk about the next little part that this one is skipping, where he got a 20-page letter from NASA after he made the...
Yeah. That meant he was doing something right. Yep. Oh, and finally... Hey, look at this. The Yellow Book was really given to us by a time traveler.
Well, that's what the EBs were.
Oh, don't get logical.
I mean,
this is ufology, pal.
If Dan Burisch called them the P plus 45s and the P plus 52s,
yeah,
then that's what he was saying. They are time travelers.
Yeah. The 45s and the 52s. The P plus is the person. What's the P for?
Present day
plus 52,000 years, and the present day plus 45,000 years in the future.
Right.
That's the two different groups of aliens that have come back.
And the 45s came back for an agenda purpose, and the 52s came back because the 45s came back. So the 52s were afraid of the 45s and what they would do to us, and we needed to be afraid of the 45s because they were after something that had something to do with only their agenda. And their agenda, from my understanding from Dan, he says that they had a neuropathy, a problem with their skin, their body, something degenerative, and that we needed to figure out some way to handle that, ameliorate their neuropathy.
Yeah, that was my understanding. So the 45s, those are the ones we're supposed to watch out for. Don't get abducted by them if you can at all help it. Don't call them in and talk to them. It's the 52s that you want, right?
Maybe.
All right. That's pretty much it. Oh, nope. The aliens chose to land in the United States. Well, it hasn't been explicitly stated, but many accounts of the Evans emphasize how much they trusted the U.S. government. Boy, if they only would have talked to us public first, we could have helped them out that way. We don't know why this is the case, but it is an inescapable conclusion based on all the evidence. At the end of the day, we should be thankful they didn't decide to trust the Soviet Union. Maybe the Evans are capitalists. I doubt it very much.
So I'm pretty sure that if the aliens landed, they've landed in a lot of places, and America isn't their favorite bud.
Yep.
I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, it's scary to think that.
It is.
But let's go ahead and put it out there that the world to the EBs, they're going to look at it as if there's no boundaries, borders, names. They don't know what they're looking at. So what they're doing is they're landing in the best possible places to keep themselves safe, just like we would if we were landing on another planet. I mean, let's be smart about this. And some of those places are going to be the flattest places on Earth, i.e. a desert. Makes sense, right?
Or a mountain.
But
because there's very few people there.
Right, true. So if they knew that there's people here, makes
under
sense.
the ocean.
Those places make sense to me if they have the technology and they know how to do it. That's going to be the best places. My brain, when I hear this, goes straight to Peru in my head. because those are some of the flattest planes I've ever seen.
The Nazca plane?
Flat.
The one way the heck up there in the mountain, incidentally. Incidentally, there is a supposed reputed portal up there that they can time travel in. They say there is a doorway to the Stargate. It's a Stargate.
Well,
I'm just throwing that out there.
Dan was talking about natural stargates.
Right, and that would be one of them.
And I think, well, we'll get into it. But
Peru, yeah.
Let's finish this.
So anyway, information gathered from the Yellow Book helps stop terrorist attacks. And yeah, that's one theory. So that kind of gives us an idea on the flavor of this really interesting theme of the Yellow Book. Now, what I want to do now, because he's going to take over the show here with some of his really cool ideas.
I don't think I'm
and I'm excited to share this because we've been talking, and he always fills my head with all kinds of scientific woo-woo. Is that a contradiction of terms? It is, isn't it?
I think I just simplify some of the things that, because you go out and you read a lot of stuff, and you research to the base ends of everything, and you find it all fascinating. But at the end of the day, and yeah, at a certain point for me, it was fascinating too. Like I was totally fascinated by this. It was great. It was wonderful. Like I got to come home from work or come home from school or whatever, and I would learn about this stuff, and it was totally separate from what everybody else was learning, and I was just having a blast with learning it. Then after a while, I was like, I'm 30, 40 years old. What is my conclusions about some of this stuff? Like now that I know all this stuff, like don't you think that I should start connecting things and making some kind of sense out of all of it? So that's when I decided that, like I'm going to go back in my mind over all these years and just start primping up the base ends.
I'm the researcher. He's the concluder. And this is good. That means we have a good symbiotic going here. What we want to do right now, though, is you want to show them the Dan Burisch.
Yeah, let's show
video
them
clip. Let's show
video
them that
clip.
one.
This is what Dan said, by the way.
Yeah, this is the Dan Burisch idea, straight from his mouth on this Yellow Book theme. Now, what he told me about the Yellow Book is really fun. Why don't you tell him what the holograph? Oh, I just did.
Well, Dan's going to tell you here in a second anyway, so we should just play the clip, let him tell you from the horse's mouth, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, this is really interesting how he describes the Yellow Book. And then we've got some other extra information that we suspect is extremely helpful in trying to get us into understanding what in the love of Sam Walton is going on. All right, let's take a listen to Dan Burisch. It's going to be about 3 minutes, but this whole part of this clip is utterly fascinating. Let me make sure the sound is up. It is. All right, here we go.
With dealing with time sequences.
Wasn't the original Looking Glass a back engineered from alien technology?
Yes.
Okay. But it also there was information around the cylinder seals that they used as also, and that those cylinder seals also came from an off-world race. Is that
from well, no, the cylinder seals didn't. The information on them did.
Which was maybe the Anunnaki? Is that
I wouldn't feel comfortable in characterizing it with that name. I really shouldn't go.
But it was off-world technology originally.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at this point, like, okay, say that was in the 60s, the 50s, the 60s, you said.
Well, yes. That's when they started actually being showing a lot of interest in actually building the equipment to be able to see over the curvature of time space so that they could see into the future and somewhat into the past, but basically the future.
Okay. So there's also our Henry Beacon contacts said there was a black box that came on one of the crafts. And I don't know if you're familiar with that black box. Did you have exposure to that as well?
Yeah,
So
it was something that we called the cube or the yellow disc or yellow cube. Yes.
okay, but then that was
I
not
have
a
had
looking
experience with
glass. Was that a looking glass?
That is a variant of the technology.
Okay.
However, whilst the looking glass shows probabilities or has shown probabilities, the cube would react with the people present. So there was an alteration, if you will, over what you were seeing from it. It would actually spin out as a yellow disc out of the top of it, where the word yellow book originally came from.
Yeah.
And depending upon what predisposition, it's kind of like little Yoda telling young Luke, you bring in there what you have with you. You know, whatever is in there is what you bring. You could then change the perspective, the tilt, if you will, the orientation or angle of the information being presented back to you. So unless you are well prepared to deal with such a thing, human interaction and human emotions bring instability of the provenance of the information.
Okay,
That is key.
That is the key, the very key, the thing that we're going to talk about.
Go ahead, take it away. Why
Okay.
is that such a key?
Because what Dan said didn't match up with all, 12 of those things that you just saw. Maybe one got real close, but you need to understand that if the emotions of the person or being that is messing with this yellow book or yellow cube changes the provenance of the information, that means it can change drastically from person to person, which means there's nothing valuable coming out of that cube. The only thing that you're going to get is an alteration or variation, and you're going to get false information depending on who's got the cube. Now, that's interesting because what that's telling you is that EB doesn't care what you get out of the cube. So, to me,
That's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
EB wouldn't care, so they're going to give the cube to us.
Yeah. Why would they give us?
But they're here to help us, aren't they?
I don't know where people are getting that. I really don't know where people are getting the EB's here to help us.
Chris Bledsoe.
Well, he's telling us that the woman is here to help us.
Yeah.
He's telling us that the
Good
light
point.
orbs are here to help us.
Good point.
He's telling
these
us
aren't the EBs.
these are not the EBs.
These are the embodied aliens.
And Bledsoe's not talking about
The
Tic Tacs
Greys.
either. So remember that.
That's
He's
true.
not talking about Tic Tacs, and he's not down that trail. And just to put light on that situation, the only thing that ever happened with that Tic Tac was you were shown videos and you started to believe shit. Honestly, I never even knew of a Tic Tac until Fravor said something about a Tic Tac. So Colt Hart and all the people that put that.
Oh, so not much before 2017.
Yeah, whoever put their money on this Tic Tac being an alien thing, like, okay.
Interesting.
I'm not saying I'm not one of them, okay? Because at first you go, hey, that's pretty anomalous looking, and the speed and whatever. But the thing is that speed and or he didn't say speed. He said that it just ended up at his cap point, which meant that it either traveled really fast or there was another one there. There could be a cloaking type situation where one cloaked and the other one appeared. There's a lot of stuff about that information that we're not going to get. So let's just put that down right now. And then when we talk about the 6 observables or the 5 observables as it started, and the 6th one being what happens to the people that interact with it, well, the 5 observables, they're important still, but how they're important is it going inhumanly fast? Where if there was a human on board, are they going to croak? Now, there are speeds that are being clocked that high. Now, that Tic Tac, it doesn't mean that there's somebody on that Tic Tac. That's a drone technology. It's been said. So drones were showing up, and maybe it's Chinese. Who cares? The fact of the matter is that one Tic Tac is not going to change my mind about the whole topic. It's just not going to. And the reason why is because there for so many years, in the past, since we're off topic, we might as well say, you've got Romans with
Don't get too scattered.
you got Romans with golden flying shields above their heads. You've got paintings that show things that don't look like Tic Tacs. I'm sorry.
You got at the end of the 1800s, the ships.
You got all
the
kinds of
boats,
those things.
Yeah.
So you guys have put your money on one thing. It's time to just move the hell on. It doesn't matter. So going back to Dan Burisch and what he said that this thing changes by the provenance of the information because of your emotional state. So that means that it can say anything. It can do anything. If he's got it, it's going to say something different than if I've got it. It's going to say something different if the queen has it, if the king has it, if the prince has it, if the president has it. It's going to say something different for everybody. So then you have to ask yourself, is the information important? No, it's not. It's not important. You know why? Because I've told him, I'm going to tell you, it's as simple as a kid's toy. They handed us a kid's toy, just like if I handed you a watch 30 years ago, a nice, iPhone or a watch or whatever, you wouldn't know what the hell it was you were looking at 40 years ago. I mean, you wouldn't know. And if you was able to turn it on and play with it with the little apps and everything, you'd think this shit is fantastic. It's the same thing that this little cube is. This little spins out as a yellow disc. So first of all, there's no writing as far as I can hear him say. It's not writing. Now maybe it is. But the fact is this sounds like holographic technology. It comes out, spins out as a yellow disc, and it gives you some information, which is actually a projection. Later on in that same video that you just saw that clip from, he talks about.
I'll leave the description, a link.
Okay, he goes ahead and talks about how it has shown many different governments of the world different outcomes to different things. Okay, and all the provenance of the information has changed. He even used it himself during the Tau 9 Treaty, where he was able to sit and talk with advisors, and he projected something himself, which showed people standing on the bones of their own brothers and cousins and sisters and brothers and stuff, which made them take off certain things from the treaties, which meant that this is a holographic technology. There's no fucking reading. Excuse my language. There's no reading. I don't think it's reading. Okay, sorry. It sounds to me like they've been given a video, like something that runs that they can see is going to be what happens if they make choice A or B type of thing. Yeah. So I'm sorry, but all those conspiracy theories are wrong.
It's just a toy.
From the
here, and this is kind of the interesting thing that we've kind of assumed in this whole discussion with aliens. And I mean, you're dealing with exotic technology of flying saucers, and now we've got Tic Tacs, now we've got orbs, etc. And so we're expecting something magnificent,
right?
Fundamentally stupendous, something that will blow our minds.
Toy.
And that's what makes his comment so fascinating. Just a toy.
It's just a toy. And they gave us their teenagers tech. That's it. They said, here, go play with that. Because they knew that we would take it and we would find it fascinating beyond belief. And we did. And we took the hook.
We kept messing stuff up with it.
What do they say? The hook, line, and sinker?
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, why can I say it's just a toy? I mean, look at it for what Dan just said it was. If it changes by the provenance of the information by your emotions, the information is goo-goo. You're not getting anything good. And if you are getting something, it's just an alteration, a change of the information. I see that as something I would hand my kid, a Rubik's Cube. I'd hand him a toy like that to ABC Mouse. I'd hand him that. I'd say, here you go, learn from this. And maybe it's a way for ET kids to learn how to handle their emotions. Maybe that's all it is. It's an educational toy.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, like those old things that we used to have, the VTech toys that teach your kid how to type and to look, is this a frog? Is this a dog? Is this a cat? I mean, it's the same kind of thing. I mean, they're just learning how to handle their emotions. So when the EBs communicate, according to Dan, it's telepathic, right? Yeah. And he said that he was entrained by the EB. The EB jumped on his chest, looked at him in his soul, basically, and trained Dan how to use telepathy. And then he said it was a thumping. And then all of a sudden it breaks through and it opens a doorway in your mind. And there's no stopping it at that point. You know telepathy because it's broken through your defense mechanism. It's gone. And I understand that. I know that other people understand what it's like to have inhibitions go completely down.
Yeah.
And you need that in order to open yourself up. All your defense mechanisms go down, and you're able to just communicate on that level. And they've mastered it to a certain degree where it's just 100%. I mean, so
That's fascinating.
So you need to see that cube for what it is. I mean, it's nothing more than maybe a training device to help them deal with the emotions they do have, or to help kids to learn how to be, I hate to say emotionless, but to make them not only deal with them, but to learn how to put them to the wayside so then they can deal with what's to come. Maybe it's some kind of factual information they need to learn, whatever, and it helps them to, deal with it. It's a simple thing. It's just like learning to read. Kids nowadays learn to read from ABC Mouse. Kids learn things from their YouTube channels, from their apps and everything.
Yeah.
So I hate to be the guy that's like that, but it's as subtle as that. It's a toy.
It's a toy.
It's a toy.
All right. That is the conclusion of this most remarkable subject of the Yellow Book. You heard it here first. I don't think you've ever elaborated on that publicly before. There's going to be billions of people watching this video. You're about to shatter the Yellow Book of the EBEs of Dan Burisch. Congratulations. May I be the first to shake your hand for the breakthrough information.
Dan did it himself.
Be sure and hit like and subscribe and share this video with everybody, because we have a new idea that actually makes good sense. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose it depends on how you look at it, this can be disappointing, or it could actually be enlightening.
Yes.
Because they're not taking us down the path of woo-woo. That might be more of our own doing instead of what the aliens are trying to do with us.
Well, they have an agenda. So they're using whatever technology they can, and that's what this Yellow Book was. It was an offering to Eisenhower to get certain abductions and stuff put on a treaties. And so it was them using what they could, probably just on hand. They probably had it sitting in the crib. They probably had it just sitting behind them in the teenager's chair. I mean,
here, let's grab this thing right here and give it to the humans.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, as simple as that, guys. Like, and again, there are people that are out there that are gonna go, is that another conspiracy theory? I mean, take the information for what Dan said it was, the information from what those conspiracy theories just told you it was, and what seems more likely, that ET is going to give us everything we need in one cube, or that they're going to give us what we need in order to be satisfied to get what they need.
Oh, great way to put it. There's your food for thought. So we shall return with a whole lot more information, analysis of all kinds of UFO topics. We are only just getting started. When I can, I'm going to try to set up to where we have two different cameras so that we don't have to squish together on the same screen. Thank you for bearing with us. We're just a couple of country boys at this point in time, but hey, the point is we're getting her done. Get her done, says Larry the Cable Guy, because we're getting the interesting information. True, a lot of it speculatory, but then what in ufology isn't, as far as that goes.
I'm trying to make it less so. I think that by keeping it simple, it should make it less so.
Yep.
At least make it easier to think about, because people have gone really far down that road. Like the woo-woo road, and is it this, is it that? Or could it be as simple as it's a kid's toy?
Yeah, that opens up all kinds of interesting themes. So, all right, we shall return when we can. Appreciate all your support, your information, your enthusiasm, your ability to share the video, and your desire to continue is it fair to say we're moving the conversation forward? I think tonight we have moved the conversation forward on a most remarkable situation.
Yeah.
Dan Burisch
I
and the
think-
Yellow Book.
I think there's a lot more. Excuse me here. I think there's a lot more. I think we're going to move it forward more and more.
Yeah.
I think the conversations and confrontational conversations that really get down to the bottom of things and make it simple and help us move on, those are the things that we need to get to.
Couldn't say it better myself. We shall catch up to you guys soon. Thanks for all your support.